Palantir has a huge Prove Yourself Day coming up. I'll talk about what exactly is going to happen on that Prove Yourself Day, but first, just to put some context around it and how hot Palantir has been over the last few years, on a 1-year span, the stock is up 397%. Over a 5-year span, the stock is up over 1,000%. If you've been holding the stock for a very long time, like myself, somewhere around the $6 range is where I was buying the bulk of my shares, you have been rewarded in a crazy way. The stock is well over $100 now. Once again, as I'm recording this video, a lot of the Trump tariff talks have died down. He's easing back a little bit, and the markets are ripping higher, and Palantir has absolutely been a beneficiary of that. But Palantir's stock price may be getting ahead of itself. It may be moving up too fast, and it's not able to justify and support the underlying fundamentals. We're going to talk about that big Prove Yourself Day and all kinds of other details for Palantir shareholders in this video, so be sure to stick around to the end of the video. But first, if you're new here, I'm Austin. I'm a co-owner of cloudmusictweet.com. I'm also a stock market investor, and most importantly for this video, as I've already mentioned, I'm a Palantir shareholder and have been for quite a few years now. It's been a really fun ride. Congrats to anyone else out there who's been holding Palantir shares through this meteoric rise. And real quick, if you want to hear about other stocks aside from Palantir, what stocks I'm buying right now, what stocks I'm holding right now, selling right now, consider checking out the Patreon with the pinned comment down there and the first link in the description. We'd love to have you over there. All right, let's get into the video. So this big Prove Yourself Day for Palantir is the release day of their Q1 2025 earnings. The day that we need to save in our calendars is May 5th. That's Monday, May 5th. After the market closes, somewhere around 4:05 p.m. is when we should get these numbers from Palantir. Palantir has had quarter after quarter after quarter of record revenue, record margins, record EPS, record income from operations. Palantir's fundamentals have been red hot. Palantir's growth has been red hot, and that is why the stock has been red hot. But what they've got to prove is whether or not this crazy meteoric rise in their stock price is actually justified. And can we keep moving up from here? Let me just run you through some valuation metrics just to show you how far the valuation truly has been stretched. This is a very differently valued company from when I was buying it around $6 and $7 and $8 a share. Obviously, it's up to like $108 a share today, but way more important than stock price is those valuation metrics. So let's check them out real quick. On a non-GAAP basis, the trailing 12-month PE is 245. Forward PE on a non-GAAP basis is 181. Those are extremely, extremely high PE ratios. The GAAP PE on a trailing 12-month basis is 530. The forward PE on a GAAP basis is 331. The PEG ratio, by the way, a 1 is considered fairly valued, below a 1 is considered undervalued. We're all the way up at a 4.78 on the PEG ratio. The forward PEG ratio is a 6.2, even higher. Trailing price to sales is an unprecedented 79.2, and the price to sales on a forward basis is a crazy 62.96. This is compared to the sector median of 2.4 for the price to sales on a forward basis and 2.62 for price to sales on a trailing 12-month basis. They're trading way more rich than their peers and pretty much one of the most overvalued stocks in the stock market, and definitely one of the most overvalued stocks in the entire S&P 500. So I would call it an understatement to say that this stock is priced for absolute perfection. If we don't see a perfect quarter in Q1, beating on every single analyst estimate number out there, it's going to be probably a down day for Palantir. They definitely have a history now of absolutely crushing analyst estimates. If they're able to crush analyst estimates once again in Q1, we'll probably see the stock rise once again. Do I think it should rise? Maybe not. It should probably stay range bound for a little while and let the fundamentals catch up to the stock price. That would be ideal for the long-term viability of a high stock price for Palantir. We need to see commercial revenue at an all-time high. We need to see government revenue at an all-time high. We need to see rest of world, not just the US revenue at an all-time high in order for the stock to go up. We need to see very impressive EPS numbers. It's going to be easy on the EPS side to beat what they had in Q4 due to those SAR related expenses pulling the Q4 EPS way down. So comparatively from Q4 to Q1, the EPS is probably going to look really strong. But based on the guidance, we know that the income from operations expectations is probably going to be down. It guided adjusted income from operations between 354 and 358 million. That's compared to a Q4 of 2024 of 373 million, which was a 45% margin. Not only are we going to see the raw adjusted income from operations number coming down, we're also going to see that adjusted income from operations margin go down as well. So that's one thing that we have that we know will not be amazing for Palantir, but is it going to get outweighed by everything else that's probably going to be extremely strong? Commercial growth in the quarter might be slightly weaker than it has been over the last few quarters, but due to the long-term nature of these Palantir contracts, it'll probably be very strong. I just don't think we saw that many new deals inside of Q1. It was very much a wait and see type time with the new administration coming in. They had a few commercial deals signed, but not a ton. But I do think that government revenue is going to be very strong. I'm not going to speculate too much, but I think maybe a few sneaky deals with Palantir were signed by the US government specifically. I know we've got all kinds of other things going on in the UK and rest of the world, but in the US specifically, there might have been some of those sneaky deals. Like I said, I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm not going to speculate. I'll wait and see on May 5th after the close. But a strong government revenue number in the first quarter after a new administration takes hold will probably put some wind in the sails of Palantir. That's going to set up a scenario where in investors' minds, this administration is pro-Palantir. And if this administration is pro-Palantir, that's going to be good for Palantir over the course of the presidency, which is 4 years, right? So 4 years of strong government revenue growth numbers is what we would assume if we see a really strong first quarter under this new administration. Another thing I'll be looking for that could potentially further make Palantir's sentiment even more positive is what they're doing with the crazy amount of cash they have on the balance sheet. They have $2 billion in cash and then $3 billion in short-term investments or marketable securities, which are pretty much all treasuries. I see three main options. One, they do almost nothing. They keep that $2 billion in cash, they increase the cash pile a little bit from the quarter, and they keep that roughly $3 billion in treasuries. That is definitely a possibility. Second possibility is that they buy more treasuries so they can get more interest income from those treasuries, making the EPS numbers look even better, bringing in more income to the company, basically for free and extremely, extremely low risk. And the third option, this is the one that could really increase sentiment, is if they took some of that $2 billion and actually did some share buybacks with it. It wouldn't even have to be a large share buyback. If they just did a tiny share buyback, that would definitely increase conviction. We saw the stock dip as low as, it was somewhere in the 60s in January, and then it dipped into the mid 70s just a month ago, okay? So if they were buying back shares somewhere around the 60s or mid 70s, that would definitely, in investors' minds, say that Palantir management team believes that the floor for Palantir is somewhere around the high 60s or the low 70s. If they're going out and buying back shares at those levels, I don't personally love that idea, but I do think the sentiment could get even better around Palantir if the management team chooses to do that. Typically, a company that's buying back shares believes that their company is either fairly valued or undervalued at the level they're buying back shares at. Look at someone like PayPal. PayPal has been buying back shares like crazy. That stock is trading at like an 11 PE. It makes a lot of sense for PayPal's management team to be buying back shares right now. My personal opinion, I don't think it makes a ton of sense for Palantir to be buying back shares, but like I said, if they did, I do think sentiment would increase, which means stock price would probably follow in the short term as well. So we'll see how this quarter goes. If the stock goes up a ton, if it goes down a ton, I'm not going to change my plan. I'm going to be holding all my Palantir shares. I did trim about 8% of my position. We were up well over 10x. I took my principal out of the stock, meaning every single dollar I personally put into the stock, I took it out. Now all that's remaining is my gains. So I'm basically playing with house money. If the stock goes up, cool and awesome, that's fine. If the stock goes down, that's also fine. It doesn't really affect me, especially the short-term moves. I care more about Palantir over the next 5 to 7 to 10 years than I do over the next 5 to 7 to 10 months. It doesn't really matter to me that much. It is fun and exciting to look at and see what's going on with Palantir. And of course, if you're still out there adding to your position, the stock price movements mean a lot. Just remember, the stock is priced for perfection. So don't be surprised if Palantir comes in and reports a weak Q1, the stock is going to get hit hard to the downside. It's totally possible. They keep coming in and crushing analyst analyst estimates and go in beast mode, and if they get that really strong government revenue in Q1, that first quarter under the new administration being strong from the government side is going to signal that government revenue is probably going to be strong for at least the next 4 years. So it's totally possible we go up in a massive way. Don't forget about how crazy the valuation is for Palantir right now and how fragile the stock price really is and how far it could drop in a very short period of time. I'm not saying to go sell. I'm not saying to short the stock. I just think it's important to wrap your head around all the possibilities with the stock, especially around earnings time, so that you don't get in a panic moment. You don't want to panic sell. You don't want to panic buy. You basically don't want to do anything out of emotion and panic. We want to be rational, but in order to be rational, I think it's important to think through the possibilities of what could happen with the share price. Let me know what you think is going to happen with Palantir stock. Are we going to keep rising? Are we going to stay range bound, or are we going to drop? What kind of numbers do you think they're going to report in Q1? Is it going to be strong commercial growth, strong government growth, or are we going to see weakening in the numbers due to the macroeconomic environment being a little bit tumultuous? Let me know in the comments below. Definitely one of my favorite parts of posting here on YouTube is having some conversation with you guys down there. Thanks so much for stopping by. Have a great day.